Greetings YouTubers, and welcome to another video from Electech. In this video we're going to look at the differences between Pi-Star and WPSD and how to load them onto a Raspberry Pi.
You'll find that we have
So stick around
Raspberry Pi
and enjoy the video.
MMDVM. This MMDVM is a duplex version. So it has a transmit, it's like an antenna, but it's made of ceramic. It also has a 0.96 inch, whatever that is in millimeters, OLED screen. And yeah, I mentioned this is duplex. On this version you can see all the LEDs in one row. On some of them you get them all like in a little square. And underneath this one is a Raspberry Pi 01. And I'm saying 1. Therefore we will be loading onto it Pi-Star. Not WPSD. We'll do PSD in another video later on, maybe an extension of this one where I will put WPSD on a Pi 3A, which is the same capability, same processor and RAM capability as a Raspberry Pi 02W. So that will be later. For now, what we're going to do is we're going to put the image that I need onto a micro SD card. Then what we will also do is prepare it so it connects automatically to the Wi-Fi. Now both the Pi-Star website and the WPSD websites have Wi-Fi generators. So you go in, you put the SSID and the passcode of your Wi-Fi point you want to connect to. It generates a file and you drop that in the boot folder, or as in the case of some of the newer operating systems, you may find it's boot/firmware. You drop it into there. When you reboot the PC, the Pi-Star, or WPSD, MMDVM, it will then take that image. It'll take that WPA supplicant or profile file and use that to connect to your network, then giving you access from your laptop or whatever you connect to configure it. Now for this is a Linux Mint laptop. This is my daily driver, and I'm going to use Balena Etcher software for this process. You can use whatever you want, but Balena Etcher is the one that's recommended for this. You know, with Balena Etcher you can flash more than one micro SD card at the time. I've done 4 in one go, just for a laugh. In fact, I'll pop up a picture now and you'll be able to see. That's what I did yesterday. Anyway, so flash from file. So the file we're going to flash is I've already downloaded a few times. Pi-Star. This is the one. It says it's Raspberry Pi version 4 1.8. This is February this year. I haven't grabbed the latest one. I grabbed that one because I know that works with a Pi 01W. So that's the one I'm going to add to Balena Etcher. And the target is the only one I've got installed on here. Select that and then flash. And it wants us to confirm. There we go. And away it goes. Now with the magic of filmmaking, I'll speed this up, but it takes probably about 3, 4, 5 minutes or so. Right, okay, we've now finished. No, I don't want to flash another. So what I'm going to do is close it down. If I open up my file manager browser, you can see the volume there. I'm just going to mount it. So what we're going to do, put into here, is a file called WPA_supplicant. Now in a little folder I have on my desktop here, I have a file which I will copy that. Copy. And then I shall paste it into this boot folder. So this is the WPA_supplicant.conf file. If you open it with a text editor like this, you can see that it has your SSID, and this is password. Now that is ready to be put into the Raspberry Pi, which is, I'm just going to swap over to a different camera. And here we are. So I will now, as you can see, put that in there, and I'm now going to connect this. Okay, so the power is now on. There you go. So one of the things you need to do is find the IP address of this. Now, I know what it's going to be because I know the MAC address, and my router will tell me this. However, I have an app here. So this one has actually come up as .57. the screen here, 192.168.1.57. This is the first boot screen that you will see in my. So this is what happens when you first log on. It's now going to change in 10 seconds, and it will ask you for the password and username and password. PyStar and Raspberry is the credentials. Okay, so here is the configuration page. No, I do not want to save it. Thank you very much. So this is a blank configuration. And just say the auto AP SSID. So if it doesn't find a internet connection via Wi-Fi to join, it creates its own. So, and its name will be PyStar, and there is no password at all. But you can change this criteria. And the same with remote access. And it's not a good idea to put Raspberry in there. It's obviously well known, and anybody will be able to find that and access it from the internet. Anyway, right, back to the original settings here. On the first page, the configuration page, and as you can see, we're going to need this to be a duplex repeater, not a simplex node. So we'll be able to transmit to it on one frequency, and it will be able to transmit out on another frequency. MMDVM duplex. It's just something I can see what its name is on the local network. I'm going to put in my call sign, G7UAY. I'm going to leave the radio frequency blank at the moment because when we apply the changes, it will then give us the option for receive and transmit frequencies. And I need to put in my locator. So it's 53.65. And as you can see, this has always been remembered because I have actually filled many of these in the past, making it very easy for myself. And I live in Chorley, and that is my square there, IO83QP, and the country is United Kingdom. When I click on myself, I want it to be go to my call sign on QYZ page. It is a private node. Time zone, yes, is London, and I want this to be in English UK. Obviously, yours will differ wherever you are. And that's about it. You get on this page initially for the settings, and then you click Apply Changes. What will happen now is it will then give us the option for putting receive and transmit, and then it will also say you have a modem and you have to choose the modem from a list. Now this is where it differs from in the past. The modem configuration or the modem selection has got more granular. In the past it was a little more generic. And here we go. You see your modem selection has been updated. Please reselect the modem from the list. This is where you have to have the correct modem. Now, we can also just work our way down. DMR mode. We're just going to play with that at the moment because I have all radios. I've got D-Star, I've got DMR, I have YSF. Sadly, I don't have any of the others. But I have POXAG, but I'm not going to use that at the moment. Now, just one thing here. The hang time is set to 20 seconds for both the RF transmission on the group and the network. Now I set these to 5 seconds. This is just personal preference. I don't want it hanging on all the time. Sometimes it can get annoying if it's just timed out, but it's personal preference. But I'm leaving this at 20 for this video. We do have an OLED display. It's Type 3. So this one is the 0.96 inches. This is a 1.3 inch, I believe. You've obviously got all these new ones here which are listed next in. I do have lots of next in displays, but I'm not going to install one on here because I've taken up the space with a OLED. So that OLED Type 3. Now this is connected to the modem. You can put the other ones in and it will work. I just like to know where I'm connecting it. This is connected to GPIO on the modem, which is then passed through to the MMDVM, and it will work on there. So that is the host name. Let's put it all in little letters. Radio frequency received. So this is what this one is going to receive from. So this will be 434.0 megahertz. In the UK, the recommended frequency for nodes, digital nodes, gateways, and things like that are 438.8 and 434. If you've got simplex, you can have two of them and one. The idea is that this is transmitting on a very small antenna with a very small power output, and it's designed to be used within the confines of your property. Yes, I know mine goes across into the field. I've got some big fields across from the front of my house, and I like to walk my dogs up and down this field, and it's nice to have the radio in my pocket as well. I don't have to do this. I do have a local DMR repeater up the road. I can just hop onto that one. But if someone's got it on a talk group that I'm not interested in, then I'm stuck. Modem type. Nobody knows what is what, but I know what mine is. So we know it's an MMDVM HAT. And I know that this one here, MVR2VYE, this is hit the changes, and we wait for it to reboot yet again. Now, the final information that we have to put in after this is we need to tell it that we are going to use it on DMR, but on Brandmeister network. So therefore, we'll have to put in our Brandmeister credential self-care password. Brandmeister also have an API key. It's not used on Pi-Star, but if you use a WPSD software, you can load in this API and manage your Brandmeister account from the dashboard of your Pi-Star. Can you see now the screen saying it's initializing? So the modem and the OLED display are now talking to the Pi, the Raspberry Pi. Now it's not going to do anything until we connect to Brandmeister. So to get Brandmeister, I have to put in my DMR ID. You need a DMR ID. Just get one anyway. Even if you're not going to use DMR, just have one anyways. It makes life easier. So I know mine's 2346551. Further down on the DMR configuration itself, we have to tell it the master. So it's always good to have the nearest server. I'm going to choose United Kingdom because that is where I am. And I'm going to have a DMR ES extra SSID. So this is another number you put on after your DMR ID. It's so if you have a number of devices, which I have, but I'm going to recycle them. I'm going to call it number one because I'm only going to have number one connected at that time. Can you see this one here? Turn on to disable extended message support, include GPS talk at early times. I want to have that on, not off, so I'm not going to change that setting. I want DMR ID and any caller information to be passed through to my radio via this MMDVM. So now if we've entered this information, it will only come back again now. It will ask, finally, for my Brandmeister self-care password. Okay, so now it's something. You can always go and check your settings if you go to Brandmeister Network. So if I put in Brandmeister Network here, as you can see I regularly log on, G7UAY, my devices. Can you see now it's now registered to say the device 101, or 01, which is this, has successfully connected to the Brandmeister network. And I can prove that by just going to dashboard. Here we go. Oh, you can see it's picking up information. So if I press here, there you are. Now we have information. So there we go. And it's also a good idea to program a disconnect as well. But otherwise, Talk Group 91 will have a monopoly on your hotspot. So this is now merrily transmitting away and communicating and waiting for me. So we go into configuration and then to expert mode. This is what where the settings are hidden. Here it's hidden in configuration. Now we want to edit the MMDVM host because that is where the information for this display is listed. So lots of patience is required when you are using a Pi-Star based on a Raspberry Pi 1. You can see the settings that are already existing on here, like the modem. And the modem is connected to that one. So you can connect your display to that or to the modem itself because it is actually passed through. Transparent data, we're not bothered about that. Ports, these are only local, so it doesn't matter. DMR. And can you see, there's your ID for your DMR. Oh, OLED, right, type 3, brightness, invert, scroll. Yeah, we want it to scroll. So we have that information scrolling across the screen. And we want the logos on the screensaver where it says MMDVM, and we want to cast that information. Stop it going to sleep. Here is where you would put a 1 and it would rotate the screen by 180 degrees. That's the only option you've got. I don't think it does it with your arm vertically. I've never tried, but I've only used 1 or 0, and that is very handy if you want to have the sockets at the top or you want to use it in that mode. So if we now apply these changes, it's just going to restart the service. That's stopping, offline. There we go. Now you can see there is your logo at the top and it's scrolling. Now it's going to reinitialize it. And there we go. There you go. Quite busy on Talk Group 91 at the moment. So there we have it. A successfully programmed DMR hotspot using Pi-Star and a basic Raspberry Pi 1.10. And you can, on here, if you want to shut it down, you can either send it a code. So this is why they don't recommend you use a Raspberry Pi 01. You can, it's at your risk. It will be slow. It will pass traffic through, no problem, because the amount of data being used on a voice call is going to be around about 3 kilobits a second or something. Hooray. So now we've sent the shutdown command to the Raspberry Pi. Here endeth the programming of that. Now what we're going to do is put on WPSD onto DMR as well. And for that, I have a Raspberry Pi 3A. So I'll get rid of that. And I've already put a Nextion display on there already. I'm going to refocus this in a second. So bear with me and I shall restart. Once again, we have the USB to micro SD adapter. We're going to put a blank micro, it's not blank, I'm going to put a micro SD card in there. We're now going to, there we are, it does have information on it. We're going to use Balena Etcher once again. And I am going to install the WPSD software on this card. So if I go to where my downloads are, and I pick up the latest WPSD, I've downloaded it 3 or 4 times, you can see, somewhere in this folder. So target, I have a 32 gig micro SD card there, and I'm going to select it and I am going to flash it. You will have a fast forward sign coming up. And we're just going to run through it again. We're going to keep the same transmit and receive details. We're going to put it on Talk Group 91. We're going to do everything exactly the same as that we've done. And then show you just the slight differences. And we're going to have a Nextion display. Now, the thing about a Nextion display is you need Windows to set up the Nextion display information. When you get one, the blank, you have to put on a template. And you need Windows to do that. That is for another video. So, here we have, there we go, brute volume. There we go. So what we need to do is drop this image here into there. This is the same location that we put in the wpa-supplicant.conf file, but this one is what is used with WPSD. Okay, so what I need to do, I need to eject that. Okay, so I'll take it out of my PC. Here I have it. And what I'm going to do is insert this into my Pi-Star, which is there. Making sure it was disconnected before I start damaging it. So there she is, installed. And now we insert the micro SD into there. Now, as you can see, this is upside down. So to reverse that image, you can't do it from within Pi-Star or WPSD. With the Nextion, you have to actually go to the Nextion editor and turn the image over and then re-upload the image. The Nextion display has a micro SD card reader on it, which is actually where my finger is, and that will have only a single file on the micro SD card, and that will be whatever name it is, .tft, and that loads the template. And all you do is put data into fields on the template, like your IP address, transmit, receive frequencies, CPU temperature. All these are variables of information picked up from the modem and from the Pi-Star. But what we can do whilst we are waiting for this to boot is I can turn it around, like so. There we go. Just move the antennas apart. Never run one of these without an antenna. You don't know how much information, how much damage you could do or couldn't do. It's also a good idea not to have any USB leads, he says. So now what we need to know is what IP address this is. Once these join and then set up, the bottom line of this actually says IP address. You can actually wait for it to connect to the network and populate that, but it's not going to populate that until the information has been put into the WPSD software. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go once again to my technical information, and I'm going to scan, hopefully it'll find it this time, WPSD, it's .37, what a surprise. So its host name is WPSD, so if we go to our 192.168.1.37, here we go, you've seen it, I've been there before. It's a new installation. So, WPSD 42, is that me? So in 15 seconds, it's now going to go to the configuration pages. You will notice that this is a lot easier. And you also notice it said update available, if you saw that in the top corner. This is the username and password you've not to forget. And it's also a good idea if you change this. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to leave it as it is. And you can see the yellow banner across the top there. If you have a legacy API key, it will not work any longer. Read the announcement of how to migrate. And so I shall do that. And to update your key, you click on there. So if we just, whilst we're doing this, we can go and get it ready by going to Brandmaster Network. And let's grab our key. So let's log in with my call sign. Who am I? That's the one. And my password is the same as my self-care password. Logged in. And then once we've got that, we need to go to our profile here and grab the API key. There we go. So any API key I've got, oh, look at all these, my goodness. I have been playing around with it, so I'm going to revoke all of these because I can always recreate them. It just means you have to go in and add them again. So here we go, I've revoked all these. Now I need to add a new API key. So we're just going to call this Pi3A, because I know it's a Pi3 it's connected to. And there we are. If I now copy that information, go back to my dashboard, I can update the key into here. Paste, apply changes. Done. Now if I go to configuration, we will configure and then we will update afterwards. So the host name, as I said, it had picked it up as WPSD. But we're going to call it Pi3A because I can identify it on my network. No call sign, who's that? That's me. And my DMR ID. Can you see the difference in setting up between this and Pi-Star? So I've now got duplex, but it will add that extra receive and transmit frequency there. We also have to find our modem type, which is an MMDVM hat, dual hat, hotspot, GPIO, and it is, I know what this one is, this one, hotspot dual hat for Raspberry Pi, that's the one. because I can actually read it on my from here. I'm going to leave everything as standard except for WPSD's telling me that I need to be in Europe now and English UK because my keyboard has everything in the correct place. Latitude, what are we? 53.6465 whatever, and we're at minus 2.65 ish. Show the node on the WPSD. No, I want people to see where I am. Town, where are we? We've done this a few times today, surely. And which country are we in? We're in the UK. So if someone clicks on my call sign, I want it to go to my QRZ page, so I'll put it on automatic there. Okay, so now I only want this on DMR, which is there. And you can tell you what type of network you want to be on, primarily. So there's all these different versions. I've got both Brandmaster and TGIF. I'm going to leave it as TGIF. Sorry, it's Brandmaster. And I'm going to leave the hang time at 20 for now. But I have mentioned about these hang times in the past. And we're not doing any cross modes. And what kind of... Oh, we have a Nexion with... with driver. I'm going to use it as that one, and I know I'm connected to the modem port on there, and I want the settings to be ON7LDS, who is a Belgian guy. Let's see, node access control, we're not going to do any access outside. Access point, yeah, really not too bothered about that. Okay, let's apply the changes. This should happen a little bit faster now, since it's got a better, it's got either 2 or 4 cores on its processor on this one. It's got a little bit more RAM. The storage is the same, 32 gigabyte micro SD card. And then we're looking at the display. So the display should update with information like the IP address. Initially, it should always come up with the IP address. Also, remember, you've got this reboot, shutdown and reboot signs, and you've got the information tab. You can click on these and it takes you to the screen. So here we go. We have now come back to this screen again. We got asked you to save your profile. I'm not going to bother because I'm going to burn this one reset this one after we have an update. But for now, I'm just going to update the frequencies. So we want it to receive on 434.0 and we want it to transmit on 438.8. There we go. So I've now got the radio. Can you see the IP address has appeared on there? That means I have got the right information about this Nexion. Incidentally, if you're going to put a Nexion, you've never put on a Nexion display before, these 4 connectors, so you've the positive supply, you have transmit, receive, and the negative ground connection. If it's lit up, but you're not getting data, you may find that you have to reverse the receive and transmit wires sometimes. Doesn't do any damage, just a bit confusing. And that is about it. Let's have a look what else we've got down here. I think we're there. So we know the Nexion display is working. Oh, we have to put in our Brandmeister security and the ESSID. You can see we can enable it here, or we can enable it in the admin settings from the dashboard. Since I've disconnected, I'm going to call this number 1 again, and I want to enable that password. I've already put my self-care information in there. Here you can add other networks. So like System X and TGIF. So I'd have to go to TGIF and get my security key, and you paste it in there. That is not your self-care. That is not your logon password. That's a security key. And enable it there. LX networks. 493 is the WPSD chat reflector. But I can put in, for example, Northwest Repeater Group in there, which is XLX977, is it? That one there, I think that is it, and I think it's on module D, I think. and I can put that on time slot 1 and put time slot 2 to talk group 91 if I really wish, and I'm going to enable that. Wow. DMR color code, yep. We don't need to, this is the same here, this embedded settings to turn off. No, I'm going to leave it switched on. There we go. Let's apply these changes. And then finally we will do the update. And I'm not going to bother with the, what am I not going to bother with? Why am I asking you? I'm not going to bother with the profile settings because I'm going to flash this afterwards. Keep saying burn. We'll edit this out. I am not going to do the profile settings because I am going to reinitialize and flash this device later on. Okay, so on the screen now you can see it says TX431.1 and because that's now not received. It's now going to receive the correct information, hopefully, as we have entered them in on the screen, as you can see. And that's it. And as I've mentioned in the previous setup, if I go to my devices, as soon as this logs onto the network, that will appear green. So what I'm waiting for now is for this information to change, which it will do shortly. It takes a little while. There you are, 438.8 on transmit. It hasn't got anything on receive yet. By the time I get to the dashboard now, pay attention to this where it says update available. I have found if you don't click that and install the updates, it may hang some of the services. Let's go to the dashboard. Let's see what this baby has to offer. You can see. So on slot 1, GB3RF, Neil, that's Neil Mooney, who is the repeater keeper, it's got that in his name. So that's on talk group 6. Listening. We haven't joined. If I haven't got it set up on my radio at the moment. However, what I'm going to do is just log on to talk group 91 by pressing. And as this is a duplex one, it is now letting me connect to time slot 2 and time slot 1. So I've got 2 groups there. Doesn't it look a lot better with a next-gen display? So I need to add talk group 6 and time slot 1 to my code plug as well if I want to listen to that. I don't have it. Oh, I'll just try local. I don't know if it does.
Well, somebody's asking for now, but instead of snoring at each other, why don't you come on talk and be a man? Well, that's a mouse. Never mind.
There we go. So this is on talk group 6, which is slot 1. And unfortunately, I don't have the DMR ID of that person. So I need to update the database on the phone, on my radio. It is limited. I think this has got 10,000 contacts. Yeah. So there we go. There are that is the setup of WPSD. Absolutely super easy if you read the instructions. If you don't read the instructions, you'll end up with like a long line of people who go onto the forums, who go onto the Facebook groups and ask questions which have already been answered in the FAQs and everything else. I think they're getting a little tired of it. And I know that being a radio amateur, I try to help everybody. That's why I am making content like this. So if you enjoy this type of content, please support the channel by subscribing. Please click the thumbs up button below because that helps the channel. It helps the channel get noticed by the YouTube algorithm. And the more people that see this, it will encourage me to do more videos and be able to afford to buy more equipment to give you better quality. Because the problem I have at the moment is everything I have, I buy myself. It's my own money. I am not sponsored and no one sends me anything to review. So everything you get is from here. And as you've seen, I like to make things. I am a maker and I love making things. I've done the video about my multi MMDVM hotspot, which has inspired these two videos of building PyStar and WPSD. So that's how you program it. There we go. Let's just see what happens when I click the update. So it goes to like a DOS screen, which is not DOS, it's a little window. And now it's going to get the updates from the server, and it's going to cache them, and it's now going to install them and restart all the services again. And then finally, one of the last things I want to show you is the live caller screen, which I think is one of the best things about this software. You can read this across the room.
Link to XLX977D.
There you go. So it's automatically joined that XLX group that I put in. And I can also make it go to well. So it's also gone on to Talk Group 91. Here we go. So it's updated. Turn the volume down. Now if we go on to live caller, this is what I call the fantastic bit. So it tells you who's calling, time slot, and everything else. So you can make it smaller so you can fit in the other time slots if you wish. To get back at the dashboard, there's a little link down there. Now I've made the screen a bit smaller or larger. The admin dashboard on here does have these links. So we haven't enabled any of these, which you have to go back and enable. But you can go to Brandmaster Manager. And you can drop and add talk groups here, static talk groups. There is one further, if we go back again, you've got Network Manager. So if you want to say, I don't want to go on Brandmaster, I want to go to TGIF, or change that default reflector, I can do it from here. This is my preferred software. I do like it. I like the default colors. Yes, it was based on PyStar, but it has changed into its own beast now, and yeah.
If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you like this content, don't forget to press the thumbs up button and please consider subscribing to the channel. This encourages me to make more technical and radio content and the channel to grow. And as always, thanks for watching and see you in the next one.